The root of a nation, the catalyst that founded a provisional government, Korea's March 1st independence movement. The people gave their lives to fight for their country with a fierce spirit of independence epitomized in civilian militias, the righteous armies. In 1895, the Japanese assassination of Korea's Empress Myeongseong and an edict banning top knots increased anti-Japanese sentiment and awakened righteous armies. A new voice emerged, posting bold, daring threats against Japanese rule, and signed defiantly by name. It was a proclamation by Hui-sun, the first female commander of a righteous army. Who was this unprecedented figure of the late 19th century? Marrying into a family with ties to the Wijong-choksa faction and righteous army leadership, Hui-sun seemed predestined for the anti-Japanese movement. But female participation in righteous armies built on Confucian teachings was inconceivable at the time. To this, Hui-sun would later declare, "There is no distinction between men and women in saving a country from ruin." Hui-sun's call to arms was a signal showing that Korean women were joining the fight against oppression. Her acts of resistance began with the strokes of a brush. She proved the pen mightier than the sword by writing 8 battle songs and 4 warnings that resonated across the country by word of mouth. Following Emperor Gojong's forced abdication, she organized and armed the first all-female righteous army to join their brothers in the fight. At the age of 48, righteous army leader Hui-sun manufactured munitions, procured military funds and food. Righteous armies grew stronger by the day. Japan responded with brutal, harsh repression. Hui-sun and her family had to retreat to southern Manchuria, where they set up a Korean village. And Hui-sun opened a school, Dohakdang, to educate freedom fighters. As principal, she preached the need for a Korean-Chinese alliance in their struggle against Japanese oppression, and even the Chinese were touched by her patriotism. She gathered the scattered righteous army troops to form the Chosun Independence Corps and formed a family unit to lead by example. Hui-sun fought at the forefront of the anti-Japanese movement until her last breath. Righteous armies instilled the spirit to be free from Japanese rule in people's hearts. And on March 1st, 1919, that spirit grew intensely as voices united across Korea calling for freedom. Declaring independence from Japanese imperialism, holding nationwide protests, organizing secret student associations. This was an era that marginalized women, but when the country was in crisis, they were first to step up and fight with their lives. Today, how are they remembered? Hui-sun devoted 40 years of her life as a freedom fighter in Korea and China. Her remains were finally returned to her homeland in 1994, 60 years after her death. But there is little to remind us of her impactful role in history. Out of over 17,000 people awarded for their pro-independence efforts, only 660 are women. Today, we are urged to remember that our present was only made possible by the sacrifices of those whom history seems to have forgotten. Today, on the 105th anniversary of the March 1st movement, we remember them.